In the heart of American democracy, the presidency stands as a symbol of power. But behind every election, a battle rages over how long that power should last. Would the founders fear a reign too long, or trust the people to know when enough is enough? The story of term limits is stitched into the fabric of our country, shaped by tradition, tested by ambition, and forever crystallized in the 22nd Amendment. Tonight we journey through the choices, controversies, and consequences that define the limits of the Oval Office. Before we start this journey, like and subscribe to keep the memory of our heroes alive.
The birth of a presidency without limits.
At the Philadelphia Convention of 1787, the most gifted political minds in America faced an impossible question. How long should one leader hold the nation's future? Fierce debates raged. Some wanted a president for just 3 years, others for a bold 20, a figure that seemed unthinkable for a fledgling republic. Federalists longed for continuity, fearing chaos in the absence of stable leadership. Anti-federalists saw danger in endless terms, fearing an elected king might grasp power forever. The first compromise was bold, a single 7-year term with no chance of re-election. But would Congress choose the president, or would each state have its say? Deadlock reigned. In the end, a new system emerged, the Electoral College, a 4-year term, and, critically, no constitutional limit on how many times a president could be re-elected. America whispered a promise. Leaders would rise and fall by the people's will.
George Washington sets the tone.
When George Washington strode away from power after 2 terms, he did more than retire. He set a sacred precedent for every president to follow. No law compelled Washington. Only his sense of duty drove the decision. In his farewell address, he warned against divisions and unchecked ambition. The statesman's restraint became an unwritten rule. For generations, politicians across party lines pointed to Washington's example. Yet, as the republic fractured and reformed, whispers grew louder about leaders who might not be so quick to let go. Was tradition alone strong enough to keep the presidency from becoming a personal throne? The struggle for balance between custom and law had begun.
Third-term temptations and early challenges.
It didn't take long for the 2-term precedent to face its first serious tests. In the 1800s, rumors abounded that powerful presidents might challenge tradition, pushing Congress to draft nearly 200 attempts to impose term limits, beginning as early as 1788. The closest call came with Ulysses S. Grant's allies, who floated the idea of a 3rd term. The House responded with a stern warning. Abandoning Washington's custom would threaten the very freedom America fought to secure. Yet, with every election, ambition simmered. Would custom continue to hold, or would it one day break? The question lingered, waiting for a moment that would change everything.
Franklin D. Roosevelt's historic 4 terms.
The Great Depression. World War II. In a nation searching for confidence and leadership, Franklin D. Roosevelt answered not for 2, but for 4 presidential terms. Never before had a president challenged tradition so boldly. Americans voted Roosevelt into office again and again, hoping his steady hand would guide the country through darkness. His death in 1945 closed a chapter, but awakened urgent calls for reform. Congress reacted with speed and unity. Republicans, joined by Southern Democrats upset with FDR's liberal policies, formed an alliance to change the law. The question was no longer theoretical. The Republic's customs had bent. Now, Americans demanded clarity and permanence.
Ratifying the 22nd Amendment.
With the urgency born from Roosevelt's unmatched tenure, Congress moved swiftly in 1947. The proposal? A clear constitutional limit of 2 elected terms for any future president. Ratification came in 1951, after intense debates in the states. The 22nd Amendment did not just alter history, it codified it, forever anchoring the fears and hopes of the founders in modern law. For the first time, America's highest office was bound not just by tradition, but by the force of constitutional text. In the background, proposals swirled for a single 6-year term, even efforts to repeal the new amendment, but none gained real momentum. America had spoken. The limits were set.
Calls for repeal and unanswered questions.
Since 1951, the echoes of debate have never fully disappeared. Lawmakers from both parties have proposed dozens of bills to repeal or revise the 22nd Amendment. Some sought a single 6-year term, free from re-election drama. None advanced, but questions endure. Could a former 2-term president become vice president, then ascend if the president is removed? The text of the law is silent, the precedent still unwritten. The boundaries of presidential power are, in ways large and small, always shifting. The nation watches, waiting for the next test.
The living legacy of limits.
Today, the 22nd Amendment is woven into the expectations and anxieties of every American campaign. While the public trusts term limits to safeguard democracy, the legacy remains controversial. But the lesson endures. Power is best cherished when its time is limited, and the presidency is not a prize to be held, but a public trust to be returned. As each new leader takes the oath, the guardrails built from hope, fear, and experience remain, watching, protecting, remembering the wisdom of those who believed in renewal.